What's up, folks? This is Kenny with Just the Right Angle, give you an update on things that matter to you. Coming at you live for the start of the new year. Happy New Year to those who got to see the celebrations there in New York and across the world. Sadly, of course, we start off the new year with what looks like another attack. And what looks like what could have been a preventable attack. This happened in New Orleans, which for those who don't know is, of course, a leftist town. And this apparently occurred around 3 o'clock in the morning or so, but there was apparently a guy with a truck that came across the border in Eagle Pass 2 days ago, managed to somehow make his way out to New Orleans, crash into a crowd of people that were there, killing 10 and 35 hurt. And that's in Fox News. Now they say 12 people were killed, more than 30 injured. So there's constant updates on this. And sadly, this looks like something that could have been prevented. Number one, it looks like this guy should not have ever been able to enter the country. In addition to the vehicle, he also had a weapon and explosives and apparently body armor, what they call IED. There's also supposedly on the back of this white truck and a flag which looks like the ISIS flag. And you see it appears to be wrapped up here. The problem is, of course, the media is trying to spin this. They're trying to say that they're already labeling the car drives in the crowd instead of pointing out who the person is. Now, had this been a person who claimed to be a Trump supporter, it would have been every detail about them from where they were born to every single aspect of their lives, and their internet history would already be up. But instead, since it hurts the narrative regarding illegal immigration, and it is being kind of blamed on the vehicle, and this story is going to disappear. It's going to go away. It is going to be hidden and buried as hard as possible. I may have a problem with my my live cam, so you can't see me, but you should be able to hear me. If you can't, let me know in chat. This is, of course, the post that you can share to everybody else, this particular link. But in scrolling through this, while looking at this story, of course, I got from America's News Now the tip that they were the first to break that this person had come through, that the vehicle had come through Eagle Pass 2 days ago. That the suspect's identity and citizenship is not confirmed. If you scroll down a little bit more, somebody says there was a name. This is one interesting clip. I'm going to play this for you here.
Good morning. First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation. You'll hear more after me. However, I have been in direct contact with the White House, with Governor Landry, and of course a unified command who is present here.
This is not a terrorist event. What it is right now is their improvised explosive devices that was found, and we are working on confirming if it's a viable device or not.
Good morning.
So,
First of all, we do know.
I think it's the mayor that says it's a terrorist attack. Then the FBI spokeslady with her nose ring says it wasn't, and this is somebody. Of course, it's a terrorist attack, and even if it isn't somebody that it turns out maybe the person was here domestically, you know that it's obviously an attack. It's some kind of act of terrorism. Here's a great cartoon displaying what's happened and why more of this is going to happen. Now here, someone is claiming that it is an Islamic person. But there's something else. If you look on Twitter, because you won't find this on the news, you'll find this. Libs of TikTok has posted this. Hydraulic steel barriers were installed in Bourbon Street after an attack on France when a terrorist used his car, killing 86. I think that was about 3 years ago, maybe more. They're supposed to be raised between 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. That's also supposed to stop, drunks. And that would have at least slowed somebody down. And it looks like they were not raised, or if they were, somehow the guy got around it. But it looks more like they weren't raised at all. Folks, if you can't hear me, let me know. I have had some audio problems in the past. Let me refresh this, make sure it's going okay. Okay. So it's going good. My camera is out, but you can still hear me, and that's all that matters in the end. Nope, that's not what I needed. But anyway. Yeah, so just like in Katrina, if you remember the Katrina hurricane from several years ago, what happened there was the local government there completely failed. The New Orleans Levee Commission stole the money that was supposed to be used to fix the levees, and so that was a failure. And then the people that were the mayor there, whose name I can't remember, failed to organize in terms of getting the buses out to where they were supposed to be. So that was an absolute failure. And so a lot of people died, and a lot of property was destroyed. I do remember they went in and took people's guns, and so a lot of mass looting occurred. And the sad thing is it looks like the same thing again, only this time. And of course, the federal government failed too. FEMA failed. Now, the media back then blamed everything on George W. Bush and the cowardly Republican strategist consultant class people let the media get away with that narrative. Now, here, they're just wanting the story to go away. If Trump had been president when this happened, they would have blamed him. They would have found some way to blame him. But since it's not, and it's the useless puppet that they installed, they're going to go ahead and just pretend like nothing happened. So keep an eye on this story and use this as a teaching method to those who are still listening to the regular mainstream establishment media. Let them know that, no, they are being failed. They are being lied to on a whole host of issues. The media is going to try to just say that this was just some truck that ran into some people, and then it's going to disappear. And all the failures of government and the background as to why this happened and how to prevent it from happening again is going to be buried. That's what's going to happen. And so we need reform on a federal level. It's not going to happen instantly when Trump takes office like some people think. It's going to take a lot of effort. It's going to take a lot of work. Just like just like when we first formed this nation, it's going to take a very small percentage of people dedicated to freedom who are not going to get the money and resources that they deserve to fix these kind of problems, so that your kids don't end up having to get run over by some guy who should have never been here. Or lose their job to some HB1 visa. Speaking of which, HB1 visas, I had this up. Oh, here it is. This is from the Quartering. I also saw Benny Johnson saw this. So Elon Musk, along with Vivek Ramaswamy, who is basically this tech guy who, up until very recently, didn't care if anything was probably part of the problem in terms of political stuff. But in the last, maybe year and a half or two or so, he decided to stick his finger in the wind and realize that the Trump movement was going to take over this country. So he decided to grift and go on board so that he can find a way to basically increase his power and influence. And he's wanting a bunch of foreigners to replace Americans in addition to putting us all in this tech utopia, which includes the cyber trucks. There's the cyber implants in your head and the network that can be easily hacked and taken over. And, of course, the cyber trucks, the cyber vehicles. And there's a few of these in Arkansas. We actually, my wife and I saw one at Costco, and it didn't do what this one did. But one of the things about these Tesla vehicles that the media doesn't like to tell you about and that Elon doesn't want to talk about is that they are filled with lithium batteries that can be damaged and easily burst into flames. And apparently this just happened in front of Trump Tower, looks like a hour ago. Here we go. And there it is. And when these things burn, they burn hot. And they're also toxic, too. Now, I don't know if somebody just threw a firework in here from New Orleans or if it just, or what happened. But I don't want to get these things for a whole host of reasons. This is just one of them. If you watch the movie Homestead, which I saw recently, there's a scene where they have a Tesla and they actually have to abandon it because they don't have a charging station. Because there's very few charging stations. And usually if something bad happens, those things are going to be one of the first things to go out. So there you go. There's a reason not to get a Tesla. And now this is from Andy Go. The New York Post has obtained a photo ID of New Orleans terrorist suspect Shamsud Jabbar, 42-year-old Texas divorcee and father's U.S. Army vet. I don't know if this is him or not. He'd used a firearm. This is real weird. What in the... So this is supposedly a video from the guy. Let me see this.
I'm Shamsuddin Jabbar, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead at the Midas Group at Core Realty. I just want to say hello and let you know a little bit about me. So I'm born and raised in Beaumont, Texas, and now live in Houston. And I've been here all my life, with the exception of traveling for the military, where I spent 10 years as a human resources specialist and IT specialist, where I learned the meaning of great service and what it means to be responsive and take everything seriously, dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that things go off without a hit. Good evening. I'm Shamsuddin Jabbar, property manager with Blue Meadow Properties and team lead.
Now, I can't confirm this is the guy. And apparently he donated to Act Blue, so he's a Democrat. So this could have been like that one guy who shot up the... So he's basically the military, but he's a Muslim that infiltrated the military, like that guy that shot up I think it was Fort Hood. If this is the guy... So was this guy a sleeper cell guy? Don't know. Why are we putting people from the religion of peace in the military? I don't know. This is even more disturbing the more you hear about what this happening. Again, this guy should have never. Still, what was he doing with a truck coming from Mexico? Is that where he got explosives, or? Now they're saying 4 or 5 other suspects involved. Football game delayed in New Orleans. Regarding that, there is supposed to be the Sugar Bowl. This is supposedly a shot of the guy. And someone's asking about the barricades. Thanks a lot, liberals. 100% on you. That's right. New Orleans, like many of these cities, is run by Democrats. And as mentioned before, they often screw up in terms of security and other things that they're supposed to take care of so they can do pet projects. Oh, here it is. Here's the actual attack. Here's what it looks like, the actual attack. Here, let me play that again. I don't know if this is it or is it something else. Anyway, the more will be talked about this, but it looks like a terrorist attack by somebody who should have been screened, who should have never been allowed in the Army in the first place. Let's be honest. Regarding the football game that's supposed to happen later today, it's supposed to be the Sugar Bowl, and it is supposed to be. Let's see. It's supposed to be ESPN. It will be Sugar Bowl will kick off at 8:45 p.m. Eastern, 7:45 Central. Now, I don't know. I heard something else on that it might be slightly delayed. But it looks like the game is still going to be played. They are going to still try and go through that. I assume there'll be enhanced security at that event. Of course, our government isn't going to shut down football. They need bread and circuses to keep people from being distracted from what's going on. And speaking of what's going on, the Arkansas legislative session's coming up. And there is a lot of bills that have been filed. I'm going to share first this tab. This is the Arkansas legislative website. And if you are tired of the way things are done in city and county government and state government, this is a way where things can be done regarding that issue. We have a bill on the books that's supposed to defund these sanctuary cities, but it isn't being enforced. We really need more legislation regarding how these cities spend their money and how they can raise taxes, because they've done a terrible job of that. And what they're doing is they're letting police and fire and other important items fall apart. Then they live like kings and want pet projects like open spaces and bike paths and all kinds of things. Great example is Little Rock. Little Rock had a budget not too long ago, and the fire department was in disarray because they're lacking funding. But Frank Scott Jr.'s security detail and about 5 of his buddies that are on do-nothing positions, like the liaison to the Department of Education, as though the city somehow needs a liaison to the education department. It's called send an email. Okay, you don't need those positions, and I think there's a diversity officer in there and all that other stuff. They're still on the budget. And matter of fact, I could actually play that. Let me go ahead and play that. I'd forgotten about that. So let me grab that for you all here. Oh, let me.
There was an update given. Mayor, I'm going to propose an amendment that was passed out. There was an update given. The items in it are creating a line item for the cost of your security detail so that we can see it in the budget in the OEA for $300,000, and also to eliminate the chief of staff, chief equity officer, chief education officer, and the senior advisor to the mayor, chief strategy officer, with those monies to be reallocated to split evenly between homeless outreach and code enforcement. That's my motion.
There's a motion from Director Hines, a second from Director Adcock. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Nays have it. Director.
So anyway, there you go. If there's a terrorist attack, you wonder why the city fails to respond, or a house burns down, you wonder why they haven't built a fire department out there in Chenal or other places yet. There you go. Oh, sorry, folks. Rumble has autoplay. There you go. There's your city. There's your city leadership. Now your city. You can probably guess Frank Scott Jr. mayor and the most of the city council which party they're in. Unfortunately, our city and county officials are nonpartisan, so it's hard to tell. You can base upon the actions and the failures that are gone on which party affiliation, but we need to show that on the ballot. That's one of many things that need to be passed. Now, here's some legislation I'll just talk about, and this is where you really need to be. You need to focus on is what is going on a city, county, and state level. This is where you can make a difference. Here's one bill. This one is repeal the fluoridation program to remove the mandate for water systems to maintain a fluoride content and other purposes. So this is an industrial waste toxin that is put into our water supposedly to help with dental records, to help with dentistry. And this is the language in this bill will be added later. It's put in by Senator Brian King and looks like Penzo, and then it has some representatives supporting it. So that's good. It has some co-sponsors. This is a good bill. Let's see another one. This one regards the data centers. Basically, stopping the Chinese crypto mining facilities. To monitor the impact of what they do regarding our electric grid. And I think the water is mentioned here as well. So basically, Asa Hutchinson, our former governor, was a puppet of Communist China, and he allowed them to set up several crypto mining facilities. Several local communities have fought and stopped them. I know one was attempted in Valonia, and they managed to stop the facility there, I believe. There was another one attempted in Boone. First it was Harrison, I think now it's Boone County, which Harrison is in. And there's fights all over the state trying to stop these crypto mining facilities. It's not against cryptocurrency, it's against the organizations that are doing it, which in this case is Communist China, and they're using our resources to do so. There's also a factor regarding noise and the usage of resources, but my main factor is the fact that it's Communist China that's implementing this. And again, you won't hear about this much from the media. Your local TV stations won't talk that much about the details of this, but there's several organizations that are fighting these crypto mining facilities, but we need help from the state. And of course, there's some bad bills. This is by Collins. This is a red flag law. And what this does is this is a swatting bill, basically. If you don't like someone, all you have to do is claim they have a firearm. The police are supposed to show up, I think, confiscate the firearm, and then you have to prove your sanity. And this has actually gotten somebody killed in Maryland. There was a guy whose ex-wife didn't like him and called the cops saying he was a threat, and they showed up to confiscate his gun and escalate, ended up shooting him. And there ended up being a shooting. Of course, we had the Brian Malinowski, the airport director, who was killed because of a made-up rule by the ATF. And so this would increase those kind of activities. This is a red flag law. It's what leftists do as a way to put fear into gun ownership. That's all it is. If someone is too dangerous to be able to have a firearm, they're too dangerous to be out in public. And in point of fact, we just saw a terrorist attack that was done with a vehicle. And there's a ways to declare mental competency. That I actually saw a movie. My wife and I saw a movie about that, where this crooked coal company was trying to get somebody's land, and the woman had a stroke, and they rigged it to court to make it look like she was declared incompetent. Unfortunately, the woman had a relative who had been in an accident that woke up from the coma and was able to basically take ownership and save their property rights. But that's the kind of stuff that could happen if this red flag law passes. The sad thing is there are some Republicans that in the past pushed for this. As a matter of fact, former Governor Asa Hutchinson pushed for this. I don't think it's going to go anywhere, but you do need to be made aware of it. And then here's another bill. This is a good one by Scott Richardson and also by Senator Dotson. An act to require the perils of communism and autocratic governments be taught in all public schools and for other purposes. Our school system is actually founded on a communist model. It was designed to indoctrinate and not educate. Now, for a long time, we've had a lot of good people. We had God in schools. The school system before this nation was even a nation. And up until the 60s, you had prayer and the Ten Commandments in schools. And then there were the ACLU used judicial activism to kick God out of the schools, and you've seen a decline in them since then. And that's why you have things like Arkansas Learns and the voucher system and lots of other fights regarding that. So this would require the education on the failures of communism. The people's, and here it lists the USSR and its successor state Russia, which is still basically it's still the same people. They're just now the Russian mafia, that the people that got rich under communism. The people, Vladimir Putin's a former KGB guy. The People's Republic of China, the People's Republic of Korea, and Argentina. Argentina went through a communist phase for a while. They've actually gone the other way. They elected their president, Javier, who has cut through a lot of government, has fired a lot of federal officials, and their economy is now doing great. So I would hope if they do an education in Argentina, they talk about the failures and the successes of communism, and the success when people left it, rather. And, of course, this is by Collins, a Democrat, an attempt to restore abortion services. And then in the title it says to protect the health and safety of women and babies by authorizing abortion and reproductive health care. You don't protect babies by authorizing abortion. But there is an attempt to do that. Now, fortunately, that probably will not pass, but it will give rise to another ballot initiative, which they probably could be able to get on the ballot, thanks in part to the Republican parties of Arkansas's failure in terms of dealing with grassroots campaigning. If you remember last time there was a ballot initiative, it got enough signatures, and the group that was supposed to prevent them from getting signatures, A Stronger Arkansas under Chris Caldwell, didn't provide any funding to people like me, my wife, and others who were out on this, trying to stop these people from gathering signatures. Instead, it siphoned money over to Axiom. And had the pro-abortion people not screwed up in their papers regarding what they're supposed to do in terms of they were supposed to sign an affidavit regarding their paid canvassers. Had they not messed that up, it would have been on the ballot and probably would have passed. So that's the issue that we're at right now. The Arkansas legislature starts in a few days. I'm going to try to live stream some of the events that happen there and give updates on what's going on. But we really need people, especially on a local level, to contact their representatives. You have state representatives and your Arkansas state senators, and get legislation that's passed that can end things like water fluoridation, which we have. We also need bills regarding self-deportation laws, the stopping of illegal aliens in the state. We need to get rid of funding for things like AETN, the library system, a lot of these economic development pet projects, these green projects. Need to pass laws that can cut the funding to that on a state level. And so like I said, follow me at Just the Right Angle. I'll try to do broadcast every Wednesday at 12:35. And if I can't, I'll try to reschedule. I'll also try to do live updates on what's going on, breaking news as best I can. But find a way to get involved, and always remember, when the wicked rule, the people groan. And this guy looks like he was allowed to enter our army, enter our nation. He donated to Act Blue, which is a Democrat funding system. And you see what he's done. Anyway, find a way to get involved. You will have a great day.